Hello and welcome to Market Insights. I am Lovina Emah. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, yes, even though with the showers of rain, but it's still a lovely day. So on today's show, we will explore the world of logistics. Now, logistics, I often call them the unsung hero of seamless trade. Now, why did I call them the hero of seamless trade? So now let's picture this scenario. Imagine that you have just ordered a cutting-edge gadget. It could be your Mac laptop. It could be the latest iPhone. Now, behind that swift delivery, from clicking on the online store where your item was and paying for it online and getting the item to come into your home, there's a complex dance that has been orchestrated by logistics. The intricate network of transportation, warehousing, information systems that ensures your products arrives on time and in perfect condition. That's the power of logistics. Now, from supply chain management to the last mile delivery, logistics is the backbone of modern trade. It's the difference between a package arriving on time and a customer losing faith in your brand. It's also the difference between a business booming and one going south, completely closing. Now, in today's globalized marketplace, efficient logistics is no longer a nicety. I mean, you can't be all pleasant about it. It's a necessity. It is of utmost importance. Customers expect fast, affordable deliveries, and businesses need agile supply chains to remain competitive. So in this episode, we will explore the cutting-edge strategies and technologies revolutionizing the logistics industry. We'll hear from an expert that will join us virtually on how logistics is adapting to the demands of e-commerce, sustainability, and global trade. So my guest this morning is Eze Okocha Eze. He's an IT consultant and he's also a digital media and a social media expert. And he has joined us virtually this morning. So welcome to Market Insights, Eze Okocha Eze.
Yeah, good morning. How you doing? And good morning, everybody.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the program, and a very interesting attire you have there.
Thank you. I need to represent.
Okay, you're showing that you're a true Nigerian, so you can dress.
Of
Yes,
course.
it's very nice, very lovely, suits you very well. Okay, so on today's episode of the program, we are talking about how logistics has been able to help to boost modern trade in terms of not just e-commerce, but also when we transact physically, when we buy things from a store and we have to move them from the shop to our home. So now, I'm now looking at logistics in Nigeria. Now, would you say it's from what we actually practice in Nigeria in the logistics sector? Now, would you say it is relatively analog? What are your thoughts on this? If it's analog or we are actually operating at the modern, at the 21st century level of logistics?
All right. Thank you so much for this question. And I'm sure it's been on the lips of everybody on the streets or any business-minded human being in Nigeria, in the market industry, and of course, the business career. The thing here is in the logistic industry in Nigeria, we are actually we are attempting to transit. We've not transited yet from the analog pattern to a digital pattern. Because at the moment, you can find out that most of the logistic companies around, some of them, they now own the mobile app where you can easily access their services or place in your orders and the rest of them. So by so doing, you can see that digitization is already taking place gradually. But technically, we are not fully in that terrain of maybe we can say, okay, we are digitized in full form. No. At the moment, you can see we are still running on the analog platform, which is not really doing well to us or to the economic growth. So by so doing, digitization is very, very paramount in this industry because it will make it seamless when it comes to operations, just like you made a mention in your analysis from the chain, you understand, down to what's it called, down to the consumers. So, of course, you see that technology or digitization is needed. Not just that, you know, in logistic company, you have two addresses where you're taking off and the destination where the recipient is. So now there's supposed to be a third person or the third address, which I personally termed the third address. Now tracking your consignments as from which point to which point. If you digitize this whole thing, you will see that even customer relaxation, the free, what's it called, stress-free issues will not be part of the whole thing that we're talking about here. Because if you take note, previously or over the years, when we were still fully on the analog industry, analog pattern, you realize that for you to even, you can't even see a place where you can place your order in the name of you trying to maybe transfer your consignment to a particular location. Rather, you would have to travel some miles away to do it, and it takes time. But digitization can actually shorten it and make it stress-free. And you see that it will actually help even to grow the GDP of the country, because everything is seamless. If you make it in a simpler way, where everybody can access it, maybe at the tip of our fingers, you already have your service done, and you have a risk-free in this digitization. So analog, we've not really transited from that analog pattern. We are still somehow in it, and it needs a whole lot of attention, and of course, government policies, if possible. They can even come up with a new one, or new ones that can also affect that aspect, because logistics is a very robust business that can actually add to all the well-being of Nigeria. Because you see that even anybody on the street, so long as you have a smartphone, you can actually order or put anything, just like what is happening in the transportation industry fully, where you have the likes of other mobile apps where you can easily order a ride, and of course, you have it at your tips, and everything just gets close to you. So if we can do it in that manner too, commonize it, you realize that even risk of losing lives, because when you are getting a consignment, you are paying for a stuff. For example, you are in Abuja, I want to transfer your goods from this particular location to another part of the country, and you have to maybe be in part of it, and it will not go really well, because there are other things you need to attend to. So it saves not just time, it is also seamless. So when it comes to economic growth, it is very important, because you will find out that relatively, when we are digitized, a whole lot of people, a whole lot of unemployed youth can actually get engaged. Because some of them, there are some that can sign up maybe as what's it called? A tracker. Let me put it that way. People that can help you track your consignment as to know at what point or which point it has gotten to until it gets to the consumer or to the distributor, whoever that's ordered for that services or products. So digitalization is very important. As it stands now, we are yet to transit fully into digitalization operation in Nigerian logistic system of operation.
Well said. Thank you for stating the benefits of having a logistics sector properly digitalized. That's very key. Thank you for going in depth into that. So now, how does the efficiency, still moving forward on this? Yeah, so what I said was that when you, for example, you are on an e-store online and then you see maybe a phone or a laptop that you like. I'm just using those devices to make it faster to picture this. Now you see a phone or a laptop you like, you click on it, and then you see, okay, this is what I want. Then you move it to the e-shopping cart, and then you get to the page where you're supposed to pay, you make your payments. Now from that time onwards till you receive it, there's a whole lot going into the delivery of your package to ensure that you get it in the perfect condition. So that whole process was what I was referring to, that it's very intricate. It might look simple to you. Oh, yes, I clicked on it here. They'll get a delivery person to bring it to my house. But there's a whole lot involved. And like you rightfully mentioned, that third person that we don't often talk about, the fact that it has to get to a warehouse, first of all, before arriving at the doorstep of the final consumer. Now, that being said, so how does the efficiency of logistics directly impact customer satisfaction in today's business?
Fantastic. You know, it's very clear. It's just like some of the computer terms, you know, garbage in, garbage out. You know, there's no how I treat you very well, maybe with my services or the way I rendered it, and you wouldn't want to come back. So, timely delivery is very, very important. You need your thing, and not just being timely, you also need to be well kept. Start again, you will also make sure that the consignment that you're taking to a consumer or distributor is intact, and it is the way the person ordered it for. So packaging comes into play very clearly. So if you don't package it very well, trust me, there's no reason for me to call you back again that I need your service. If what I ordered for, I already have issues with it, maybe because of your carelessness. So this is where the logistic companies have to do a very good job in terms of packaging when the consignment gets, because there needs to be a collaboration first. When you are ordering, logistic companies are, in quotes, supposedly to sign up to a particular e-market. So now, any e-market you sign or you order for, they already have their primary logistic company that delivers their items to the consumers or to the distributors. That is quite clear. And now, when it comes to the logistic companies, their first job I mentioned is to make sure that the whole thing is intact. Then inventory as well is also supposed to be in place. Then, you know, in some cases, when you are into logistics, there are some products that comes in shapes. So when you are packaging stuff and you make sure that the shapes are intact and you have a kind of package that suits that particular shape, this is in details. When it comes to the logistic company, in their office, they will have to do all the due diligence to make sure that everything is intact and, of course, gets to the consumer or the distributor in quite and in good condition, the way they ordered it. So that it will look as if with what we usually see or say, what I ordered versus what I received.
Correct on that, yes, that happens a lot of times. So now, yes, you've actually stated how we can definitely, even as consumers and business owners, avoid that situation of what I ordered versus what I actually received. Yes, that happens a lot. Now, so now looking at our country, Nigeria, now how does timely and reliable logistics services contribute to the overall GDP of the economy of this country?
Good. If you are timely, there's every tendency that you will do a whole lot of turns. Because if you don't deliver on time, that means there are other products or other goods or services that you need to attend to. So delay is what can actually decrease the GDP. So when you remove any sort of delay in terms of delivery, believe you me, there are so many turns that you can go even within a few hours, and that can actually contribute to the boost of the business, and it will contribute again when now we are talking about digitalization era, when a lot of people are part of it. Because the job of, for example, I'm actually the one in charge of taking the inventories in the warehouse. Then you still have others that in charge of packaging and the rest of them. If all these departments are in place, believe you me, we will have a whole lot of funds. And this thing now, the growth, the GDP growth, it comes into when the employment rate is quite high. And when we get these things right in the logistic industry, if we have more hands, which means we are employing more, the job is not just seamless, it is also adding to the growth of the GDP. So opening more, what's it called, for people to sign up, because they have seen how seamless it is, how digitized it is, because digitalization makes things easier, but there should be also trainings on how to manage all these things and to make sure that you have that timely delivery. Because it takes a whole lot to make sure that you get to your destination. Because, sorry, what's it called? If you ordered through a particular mobile app, maybe a logistic company's mobile app, and you are able to track it from your own end as a consumer or distributor, and you see that even the time stated on it, through the algorithm, the time stated on it that I'm supposed to receive this and this is also. Believe you me, if it gets to that destination at that particular time, you are not just helping that distributor because the business person. Now, that goods is supposed to, for example, in quote, is waiting for a consumer that ordered for it. So when it comes to that end, where the recipient, which is the consumer, or the distributor gets the thing on time, and it goes down to the end user on time, there is every tendency that there will be new orders coming in, and you see how the growth triples. It's interwoven. Timely delivery, in fact, it's endless when it comes to explanation on how it adds to the GDP growth of a particular country, especially in Nigeria. So because we have a whole lot of backlog, especially on our roads. So we need to do something very deliberate in this aspect.
Okay, yes. Okay, can you tell us, yes, what deliberate action needs to be taken to make this digitization of our logistics sector happen in real time? What would you recommend?
Okay, it's not a rocket science something. Now we are in the digital world. One can actually develop an app that can track the process, even from the warehouse down to the packaging, from packaging down to the taking off points. The end users can actually track it from his or her own end to know how these things are coming to him or her. Now, inside the same mobile app, there should be an algorithm that can read and tell you that in the next 5 minutes or in the next 10 minutes, there will be a hold up at a particular point. But you still have an alternative route that can take you to your destination timely without wasting any much of the time. And as it's going on there, you see that the whole thing is also updated on the mobile app that you're using. So at the both end, everybody knows. So transparency now comes into whole play, because even you don't need to explain to the owner or the consumer that this is what really happened, because the person is also tracking it in real time, knowing how the processes, how you guys were prompt enough, how you guys handled it at the warehouse, and how the whole thing took off from the from the office, and of course what the person is encountering on the road. So now there's another point that we somehow overlook it, especially this middle person or middle people we are talking about. Now this thing boils down to either the riders or the drivers. How well are these logistic companies treating them? Because the way you treat them can actually determine their own way of also giving back into the service they are rendering. Because some of them can actually be sluggish, because of they were not treated very well or the way it should be. So taking care of these aspects and knowing the welfare of either the rider or the driver, because that can actually keep the person, that zeal or the morale, to boost the person's morale, that's okay, I'm actually in a good business. So there's no how you are treating people well that works with you, and of course, you cannot get something good out of it. And again, let me say this, the staffing as well, the logistic company owners should also, what they do, or what I just suggested, they should do to the riders and drivers, should also go round. So because the way you treat them determines how, because somebody can just be very maybe murmuring and all those things, handling a particular product and the rest of them, and there will be damage on it. Who bears the cost? In quotes, it is the company that bears the cost. So when all these are taken care of, you see that you have a seamless and stress-free operations in terms of delivery. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Eze. Okay, now let's talk about trends in logistics. Now, looking at trends globally in the logistics sector, not just in Nigeria, in different parts of Africa, also all over the world now. Now, what trends do you think, do you foresee will have the most significant impact in our economic development and growth in the coming years?
Of course, IT. This is very, very key. And it will also boost that particular business. Because at the moment, logistics company or logistic companies are not that rampant. Because one, to set it up is a different thing. Maintaining it is a different thing. Cost of operations and everything, all these things comes to play. So now, going forward, for us to get this thing right and have it the way it should be, is to digitize it in full and in real time, and to make that decision as a matter of urgency. And you will see that it will take a different shape. Even the future we are talking about is quite far with what will happen if that is taken care of at the moment. So if we are able to simplify the whole processes and the rest of them of getting into logistic business, believe you me, we can welcome with any other international brands. Because if you look at the international operations, the way they do their thing, a good example is one of the biggest markets worldwide. You see that once the promptness is something else, once you are doing your delivery and the rest of them, you see that not just notification in your email, there are other things that pops up or comes up that tell you that, okay, your stuffs are on the way, we are delivering in this also day and the rest of them. So digitalization is very, very key. And this is the only thing that can give us a robust move in this industry. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, apart from, yes, digitization, like you said, IT, what do you think of artificial intelligence in our logistics sector in terms of having to not just not just paying for that item, but getting it delivered to us? How efficient do you think artificial intelligence will help in this industry?
Okay, maybe I didn't detail it well. You know. When I mentioned the IT, this artificial intelligence is also part of IT, is under IT. So now artificial intelligence plays a very vital role. Now, it even helps to, just like as I said, to read and to tell you even weather condition, because artificial intelligence can do that, so that you know when to leave your destination to your, what's it called, when you are leaving your location to a destination where you are conveying the goods to, or products to. So artificial intelligence can actually work as the third person in enhancing a smooth transaction or business operation in this. And that can happen, and it can happen and also make this business a robust one in that regards. So, and in futuristic manner, AI can actually bring even the future we are thinking, the one we are talking about here, like in future, as you mentioned it. If we implement all these things, you see that that future we are talking about is already in our palms. AI is already existing. So if we implement them, you find out that in running your operations and a whole lot of other things, AI comes to play a major role. Especially, of course, there are some you can even use for your event list and the rest of them. You see that there won't be no anything like time wasting and the rest of them. They will help you to even take shots and responses, feedbacks from customers and of course distributors.
Okay, thank you for that, Eze Okocha. Okay, so now let's look at the key factors. Could you mention some key factors that can build a very agile supply chain in our businesses nowadays, especially for small and medium businesses using our logistics? Because, this is very key in any sector, whether you're buying goods that are large or small goods. You actually need to have a very sustainable you need to have some sustainable factors that can ensure that over a long period of time, your business will be able to be properly maintained and it will survive whatever new innovations are being created. So I just want to get your thoughts on this.
Okay, like we already highlighted some of them. Some of these factors, not just being timely, then looking for cost-effective, some of the softwares that can help you to run your operations. So you have software, then you have timely delivery, then you have transparency, especially as a business owner, and of course, just like the upcoming ones you just mentioned. So if there's transparency in the system, and of course, honesty, this can actually keep one in the game. And of course, you can do your on the promise or over delivery. That can work. You give your what's it called, your customers, it will get to this so not just being timely. You deliver even below the time you promised them. That's another key point. So now, again, if there will be a policy that can come up, or maybe a government policy can also come into play. Because you realize that most of this whole thing, due to run operations successfully in our business terrain at the moment, a whole lot comes to play, especially in this logistic company or industry. And taxation, a whole lot of regulations and the rest of them. And this can this can just hamper somebody's business operation. If all these things are well taken care of, and next, all these people, you are timely in your delivery, transparency, then making use of what's it called? Softwares and the rest of them for your for cost effective operation. You see all these things, so you don't need to you don't have the well to do to hire somebody of high repute. There are other things, maybe software that can help you do that job at that moment until you are stabilized or you're rooted very well into the business before you can think of going big. So you have to, of course, be transparent, be timely, then you keep to your promises. This is a very, very key. Not just in this logistic business, any business around it. Because if you do that, smooth operation is yours. And now those things, the reason your sole aim and goals will be met.
You mentioned that we need to do a whole lot of tracking and monitoring of our good. Like when you click on an item you like online and before it gets to you, there should be apps that can track this good with the driver who is going to deliver it to you. Now, when you're purchasing any item online, you have to put in your name and other personal details to fill the form and ensure that the person you're buying from has all your details now. So now, how can businesses balance the need for real-time tracking and monitoring with concerns around data privacy and security? As you know, the more you pay for things online with your credit card, you're opening up yourself to being hacked or your accounts being hacked. So there's a whole lot of online security that needs to take place. So how can businesses protect their customers from this kind of situation, from any kind of viral attack or online hacking of their personal account?
Okay, it's very simple. By doing so, logistic companies, you can actually implement various measures to actually do that. By one, you can encrypt your sensitive data. You encrypt them. You encrypt them. That's one. So now, by doing so, everything you have them under control. Especially when it comes to what's it called? Data being saved on your dashboard or at your own back end. Implementing access controls and, of course, authentication. All these things are very, very key. For example, when you are purchasing a product in some online stores and the rest of them, you realize that at some point when you are making your payment and the rest of them, you get to a point that you will be asked to put in a particular code that will be sent to your phone. That means you are being monitored and also being tracked by that whoever that is rendering that service. So it is for your data protection. That's why that is actually happening. That's another one. Then you can use a secure communication protocol. That's all the HTTPS and the rest of them, and SFTP. So all those things will help to protect data and, of course, give that customer that free mind to run business with you, because they are very sure that whatever they do, even their data, their personal data and the rest of them, are highly secured. So you can be training you can also train your employees on how to handle those data, so that there will be no issues or stories that will come up at any particular time. And of course, this issue of confidential, you have to infuse it in their minds that whatever they do here in their company and the rest of them, this is what is in for them if anything happens or anything goes wrong. So there should be a measure which you also put in place to even regulate and also monitor your staff. Because the truth is, there will be somebody at the back end that will be managing all this data. And if the person is not of a good character or conduct, believe you me, most of these data issues we are having, data collection issues, will actually come up. So we need to track and also train our employees at a very regular time.
Thank you for that, Eze. Yes, we definitely need to. I think this knowledge needs to be continuously learned over and over for them to understand it better. Okay, now let's look at on the global scale now. How can businesses navigate the complexities of cross-border logistics? As you know, trade between nations is something that takes place. For example, if you order something on perhaps Amazon, and you know that's in the United States, and then they have to bring it into Nigeria, you know that's across the world from one continent to the other. So now how can businesses navigate the complexities of cross-border logistics? That's the first. And what are the potential implications of changing trade policies? So let's just take it one step at a time now. How can businesses navigate the complexities of cross-border logistics, first of all? Because if you're purchasing an item from another country that has to come into your own country, you know, there's a lot of international trade taking place at this time. So your thoughts on this, Eze?
Okay, my thought on this, one is the government policies or regulations. So because this is where it starts. So because for any operation to take place and the rest of that, especially at the international level, the government needs to be in know. And of course, regulations put in place should be something that almost everybody can actually access it. So because Nigeria is a very good example. For your consignment to get into Nigeria, you know what it takes. And why all these things is because of the regulations or policies put in place. Number one is to look into our policies and regulations. This can actually achieve a whole lot out of this whole bottlenecks that we are having on the international level of domestic what's it called, logistic business.
Okay, could you go further to explain, please, concerning these government policies? Yeah, because we know that the customs will also have to be involved in this in terms of the custom duty that will be levied and before it finally gets
duties
to the
and the rest of
consumer's
them.
doorstep. So could you expatiate further on
Yes.
this?
Okay, now what I mean is if they can look at the rates, especially the percentage at which they charge, and if they have to maybe reconsider and review it and make it more affordable to all the business owners or whoever that's into the business terrain or into logistic business, you will see that there will be a change. And of course, we will be rating ourselves close to the international bodies or international level because with what is happening, not everybody that can venture into it and stay afloat because of maybe the charges, especially the percentage and the rest of them. So if government can actually review and make it affordable to everybody, believe you me, we will be like almost every day, the GDP will be on the growth channel every day. Because what is actually hampering a whole lot is the charge or the percentage at which government places on it. So if they can review it, and of course there should be an agreement between, of course, government and of course the operating bodies into the logistic business. So there will be an agreement, okay, this is what we can actually afford. This is what we can make it affordable to us. So we can run seamlessly and of course measure ourselves to the international standard. So if that can be in place, believe you me, you will see the robustness and the, of course the boost that will come into that business terrain. Logistic companies will just be erupting on a daily basis, and you will see them staying because not just about coming, it's also to maintain the standard as well. So on the international standard as well, if we can also strive as much as possible to make sure that we meet the international standard, that's another one. Set all the regulations guiding the logistic industry at that level. So that too plays a vital role into this business.
Okay, now still on government policies, Eze. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that in the logistics sector, it's mostly private individuals that own logistics companies. So the government coming into the sector, apart from just regulating and creating policies, so what else, or what would you recommend further for the government to help improve on this sector, apart from the policies in terms of when you're bringing things from another country to Nigeria, apart from the customs duties, how much can the government help in the logistics sector with the private companies there?
Okay, if you ask personally, I think there should be a support system put in place by the government where they can actually maybe shun the effects on the private individuals or private companies. So if there will be a fund that can, okay, they will map it out and say, okay, if you are interested in this, what's it called, the logistic industry, please, you have this fund to access. And of course, before that fund, you can access it, there are measures that they can also put in place to make sure that you meet the requisition or the required, you meet the required eligibilities before you can access that particular fund. So if government can actually provide or map out a fund, a particular fund, say, okay, this is to help people if you are interested or you are running a logistic company. Yes, this fund is for you. And of course, they can spread the payment plan maybe into a number of years. And of course, if there should be interest, it shouldn't be anything more than 0.1%, if you ask me, so that you will see that everybody stays afloat in the business terrain. So if there will be a measure for that, or put anything in place, say this is fund, you have to access it to support your logistic business and the rest of them. There's no how we will not meet international standard because most of these bodies are private individuals and a whole lot is happening. So if we have that support from the government, I think that will go a very long way for us.
Before we round up the program, now what do you think are the potential consequences of, because you know, you talked about how the logistics sector needs to be properly digitized. So now what are the potential consequences of a widespread adoption of autonomous vehicles and drones in the logistics sector? And how can businesses prepare for the future of this? Because I'm quite sure you've seen some videos of the internet of how drones are delivering people's packages to their doorsteps, even though we don't have that yet in Nigeria, but it's part of the future. It's going to happen very soon in Nigeria. So what do you think are the potential consequences of the widespread adoption of vehicles, autonomous vehicles and drones in the logistics sector?
Okay, you know, that is obviously a whole lot of people will be thrown out of the markets in terms of, yeah, riders or drivers, because you now have an automated pattern where your packages can be delivered to you. But that also take it out that these people are still the ones operating the software or the items or the machines or the vehicles, automated ones that will be doing that services or rendering that services. So because I know when you're driving to, like, because a whole lot of people will be caught off the market. Because I mean, if I can afford drone that can deliver stuff and all those things for me, okay, so what do I need driver for and the rest of them? Don't also too forget that that driver as well can also be trained on how to operate those machines or those items that will be used. So that is that part for it. So that can take a lot of people out of the market. But trust me, that same people can also be trained to how to operate it, because that's another way of it. It cannot just be, what is it called, start operating on its own. So it's garbage in, garbage out. So there must be somebody at the back end that will be operating it. So, but a whole lot will be taken off the markets, especially the drivers and the rest of them. It's very, very important that we note this, so that we actually have a rethink or find a way to maybe do something closer to what will be actually giving us where we can be earning from. So, but in this particular one, this logistic business, believe you me, a lot of people will be laid off if that thing happens. So now everybody should be getting digitized, if you ask me.
Well, I still want to get your opinion on this. Are you saying that this is not going to be good for us in the future? The fact that we have more machinery, more drones, because I would think that there'll be people operating this thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that people will be out of work.
I'm not saying so.
Don't you think so too?
No. I'm not saying so. I'm not saying so. I said that a lot of people, not everybody, because you still have, of course, drivers that will be doing other routine jobs and the rest of them. Because all your vehicles and the rest of them, all of them will not be automated. There are still some that, you know, you still need drivers. And, you know, so I'm not saying that everybody will be taking off the markets. That's not true. So people, they will just know that, man, this is how it's getting to. So there should be a lot that people should go into digitization, especially in the logistic industries, because you realize that now, okay, there's every tendency that I might be laid off because I'm a driver and Oga just imported one machine or one item that will be doing this job I'm doing. So what should I be doing now to also stay in this business, or not to stay out of, in order not to stay out of job and the rest of them? Because it is going to boost the business very well. That is the simple truth. Because a whole lot of things will take turn, or there will be a drastic change. If that happens, it will be the most beautiful thing that will happen in that logistic industry. Because it will be seamless, it will be transparent, more transparent rather. It will also be cost effective. So you won't waste time for anything. Now you see that when you have a consignment that can do this at a particular period of time, or maybe within a few minutes, you see that these machines can actually do this just in a few minutes, unlike when you are using the other, maybe normal vehicle and the rest of them. So automated ones will not just make the whole thing faster, seamless, timely, and of course Transparency, because everything is being tracked and you see it in real time.
So much, Eze Okocha Eze, for joining us this morning on Market Insights as we talk about how efficient logistics services will boost modern business transactions. It's been great having you on the program, and I do hope you could come again to the program, particularly to our studios the next time. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Sure, I will. Thank you, and thank you, everyone.
Okay, so now let's take a look at the money market figures for today, Thursday, 20th June. How the dollars, the foreign currencies such as dollars, pound sterling, and euro are faring today. So we're looking at the Central Bank of Nigeria rates and the parallel market rates. So for today, Thursday, 20th June, at the CBN rate, the dollar is currently selling for 1,443 naira to $1. At the parallel market rate, it's selling for 1,485 naira to $1. Now, for the pound sterling, it's selling at 1,856 naira to 1 pound sterling. At the parallel market rate, it's selling for 1,900 naira to 1 pound sterling. And at the euro, for the euro, it's selling at 1,570 naira to 1 euro. At the parallel market rate, it's 1,575 naira to 1 euro. So those are our money market figures this morning. So I want to thank my guest, Eze Okocha Eze, for joining us this morning as he shared more insights on how logistics and efficient logistics service can boost modern trade and business transactions. So the next time you marvel at the speed and efficiency of a delivery service, remember the power of logistics is at play. It is the invisible force that keeps the wheels of global commerce turning all the time. Many thanks for watching the program this morning. Do join us on tomorrow's episode of Market Insights. I am your host, Lovina Emah.